in your life that will occur as the result of age, injury, or disease, and the effects of these changes can range from trivial to quite pronounced. How appropriate. But how you respond to these changes will have a far greater impact on the quality of your life than the changes themselves. It is the rare person that can go through life without injury or disease. We all know how getting old can slow down the body. These things are unavoidable. You can wish that they didn't happen, but you'll have better luck standing in the front yard wishing it would rain gumdrops. When you are faced with a change due to age, disease, or injury, you have two choices. You can focus on the things that you can't do quite the same anymore, or you can focus on how you can do the things you can. In most cases, there are ways to overcome limitations if you look hard enough. The most important thing to remember is that stepping up beats giving up every time. When you live your life the best that you can with the body that you have, you will have a far richer life than you would if you sat daydreaming about what it might have been.
This one is so important. All the 6 lessons, I think this one struck on me the most. And I got a couple of stories to share here. And I know others in the audience do too.
Don definitely will.
Don definitely does.
He appropriately read that one just by chance, didn't he?
First story I want to share did not happen to me. I read about this story years and years ago. It was a marathon. I don't know if it was the Boston Marathon or the New York, one of the big city marathons. And what's a good time in the marathon? It's like 2 hours and 8 minutes or something like the record. I think that's the winning time. So when they run the marathon, they set up the starting line, they set up the finish line, and then the winners go through after a couple of hours, and then the slow pokes come through a few hours later, then the real slow pokes come through 8, 10, 12 hours later. Around 10, 12 hours, they shut down. They turn off the lights, they take the ribbon away, they go home. Well, in this particular marathon, which happened many years ago, there was a resident in that city that wanted to run in the marathon, and he had one small problem. He'd lost his legs at this point, and he got around, not in a wheelchair, but he had these big rubber blocks that had handles on them, and he put the blocks on the ground, and he walked on his fist, basically. And imagine that's not a real fast way to get around. And he said, I'm going to do this marathon. So he did his registration fee, he got in there, and he circled us. Yep. And obviously, he was not one of the first ones. He wasn't one of the ones at the 5-hour mark. He wasn't one of the ones at the 8-hour mark. They turned off the lights, they went home, and he was still running the race. He was all by himself. They didn't know he was out there. And day came, night came, another day came, another night came. He still wasn't done. Third day, he was going along. And I wasn't there, so I don't know how the conversation went, but I think it went something like this, in my mind anyway. Somebody saw him on the street doing this and said, hey, what are you doing? He said, well, I'm running the marathon. And they said, dude, the marathon was over 3 days ago. He said, yeah, I'm almost done. And they didn't know he was still out there. And whoever it was that talked to him contacted the organizers of the race. They got the video, and they set the finish line for him. Now, he did not come in first, but I really think that guy won the marathon. And that's an example of taking your body that you have to the next level. And the neat thing is there are billions of inspirational stories we can tell about people in similar situations. We could just go on and on about similar things. That's just one. The second story I want to share. Now, I struggled with this when I was writing this section down. I knew that on all these sections I wanted to share personal stories, life experiences, because that adds to the written word. Written words are good, but life experiences are important too. But for me to share my personal story, I'm going to have to get up here and talk about things that happened to me. Well, now I can tell you a story. I could weave a tale that would have you in tears, and we'd be passing on Kleenex, and we'd have this big bug, and we'd say, oh, poor Instructor Brad, you feel so bad. But that's kind of missing the point of the story. The point is not to recount all the bad things that happened to you. But I am going to go through a list. Ms. Mears, correct me if I miss any of the major ones, okay?
Absolutely.
All right. Let's see, I tore my cartilage training for a marathon, had surgery for that, ruptured 2 discs in my back, lifting weights, ruptured 2 discs in my back again, lifting weights. I did that about 5 times, about 6 times. had colon cancer. They cut me open from here to here. They took out my innards, cut 18 inches out of my colon, put it back in. From the surgery, I got blood clots in here. They went up into my neck, down into both lungs. Oh, after that, I had 6 months of chemo. Then I broke this thumb sledding with my daughters. I broke a bone in that hand breaking bricks. I broke that finger playing football. I broke that eye socket grappling in karate class. I broke that wrist just recently breaking bricks again. I think I've pretty much covered the disease and injury part, right? Is there anything that might be age-related that changed in my life? I think? Maybe? And where's my reading glasses? Well, these are my distance glasses, my reading glasses. The point there is we all have stories, right? And there's two ways you can respond to that story I just told. One is you call out yourself or pull out your cell phone and call 911 because you're just convinced I'm about to fall over in a heap. Put them away, I'm okay. The next one is you can listen to that story and say, I had that on a good day. And I know Don has been through some really tough stuff, and others have too. And that is exactly my point, guys, that we're each different. You cannot compare yourself to other people. We each have different genetics. We have different environments when we were growing up. Nutritional habits, lifestyles, it's all different. Right? I can't compare myself to Tammy. Tammy can't compare herself to Tom. Your injuries, your disease, your aging, that's where you're at today. You have to do the best with what you have today. Oh, by the way, you can't compare yourself to that person of 10 years ago either, because that person is no more. Right? That's a tough one to handle. And if you sit around griping and whining about, oh, I had all this happen to me, guess what? You're not in control of your life. The griping and complaining is in control of your life. Don is a wonderful, tremendous example of somebody that took control of his life despite tremendous injury. Don, if you don't mind, we'll recount real briefly. Don had the poor decision-making skills to fall 70 feet off of a cliff to a solid rock surface one time. Bad choice. He shattered darn near every bone on one side of his body, ruptured most of his internal organs. He was told he would not walk or have normal function of most of his organs again.
Or father children.
Or father children. I got to tell you, he's got some of the cutest kids I've ever seen. He joined karate with me a couple of years ago, and it's just tremendous. Not bad for somebody that can't walk or get out of bed or take care of themselves. So give him a hand. Like I said, there's all sorts of stories out there. You have to write your own.
So I can't feel bad about my ice pack now?
No.